Fantastic to see the potential in all of you. We have been networking here. I'm just Niclas Carlsson, founder of Founders Alliance out of Stockholm. And one of the founders, which is a friend also, is Björn Öste. And we will do like this, that Björn, he will empty his know-how to you for, let's say, 13, 14 minutes. And you will now get the homework to prepare questions. If you don't have any questions, I have a lot of questions. So the floor is yours, Björn.
Well, thank you. Thank you, Niclas. Thank you, Norrsken. This is an incredible opportunity to be here. Thank you very much. So I'm here. Well, we're here for the Impact Week, right? So I'm going to talk to you for the next couple of minutes about how you all can make true, real impact. I challenge you. This, today, is the biggest opportunity to make a real impact in the world. The biggest one. And this is why. I mean, I add to that, we are facing an incredible, I would say the largest, unprecedented opportunity to build a new food system. Kan jag få första bilden? Ladies and gentlemen, we have a problem. We're eating ourselves to death, literally. Cardiovascular disease is the #1 killer today. The tragic thing with that is that it is, to a very large part, almost completely avoidable. We're eating ourselves, we're ruining our lives, we're ruining our health. We all went through COVID. Maybe many of you have forgotten about it. That was a couple of years ago after all, right? But we are facing a pandemic that is much more serious, much bigger, costs a heck of a lot more, and impacts a lot more people than COVID ever did. Today, well, these data is from 2021, so they're already old, right? It's actually looking worse. It's an escalating, growing problem. It's a pandemic in that sense. 2.1 billion obese people. We're talking about over 500 million people with diabetes, and at least 1 billion pre-diabetic. There's about 500 million that are diagnosed pre-diabetic, but we know for a fact that it's a lot more than that. So, what do we do about it? And what happens here? One unfortunate side effect with this problem is, of course, the cost on society. This is why I'm talking about major impact. And the major impact is to address the metabolic health crisis. We have to do it. The scary thing is that in all, and I'll talk a little bit about it here, it's actually not that difficult, and it's not expensive. So if you want real return on investment on your impact investments, this is where you need to go. These are global numbers and total cost. As an example, in the United States, the direct cost of treating and working for diabetes, addressing diabetes issue, is $1 billion per day. Okay? You start realizing, and again, diabetes, to a very, very large part, is completely avoidable. Talking about another thing. We've known the solution to this problem for 2,000 years. Hippocrates is the father of medicine, but he also made this famous quote that I'm sure you all have heard many times already, right? Let thy food be thy medicine, and thy medicine be thy food. It's not that hard. But then again, we're all smart people, and we think, old Greek, whatever. There must be a better solution. So this is what society has come up with today. Let's give you medicine. And let's make sure it's expensive. And the downside, I pinpoint Ozempic here, but the slides, the images there from New York shows this is a mass market effect targeting everybody, whether you need it or not. It costs about $1,000 a month. The worst part is this medicine is good for about 20% of people that take it. 20%. 20% don't react at all, and the big chunk in the middle have various degrees of side effects. So, what is this? It gives you, it mimics a hormone, right? And I think you all heard about GLP-1, and there's actually, as of course usual, there's more to the story than that. But in simple terms, it gives you an artificial hormone that regulates your satiety. We don't know the long-term effect of giving somebody an artificial hormone. What we fail to tell our patients, consumers, is that you start take this thing here, you have to take it for life. It's a chronic medication. You have to take it for life. If you stop taking it, you'll regain the weight right away. And when you lose weight from these drugs, you lose not just fat tissue, you lose muscle tissue too. And when you regain it, you don't regain muscle tissue. In fact, you come out a lot worse. Is this a big problem? In fact, yes, it is, because 40% in the US today that take these drugs stop taking them after 1 year. A complete waste of time and money. So, there must be a better way. There must be something else we can do about this. It's interesting thing, this fine gentleman here, I've had the honor of meeting him a couple of times. He's a great guy. He's Danish. He used to run Novo Nordisk that made Ozempic. So one of the largest pharmaceutical companies in the world. We met him a couple of years ago for the first time when he was still the CEO. And it was very interesting because he confirmed that there got to be another way. We can't medicate people out of this disaster, this catastrophe we have created, self-created, self-inflicted upon us. A week after he left the company, he wrote an article in The Economist, which is pretty interesting, and he goes out and says, we cannot just give drugs. He was running, at the time, the most successful drug company in the world. But we cannot just give drugs. We have to go to food. We have to provide nutrition that addresses this metabolic health crisis. Hence, back to Hippocrates, food as medicine. I say here and now, food as medicine is the unprecedented opportunity for the food industry. It is billions of dollars waiting for the right people that do the right thing. Billions. And the effects and the results will be immediate. Let's just take an example. I'll give you some numbers on this, right? So I looked at the US market, and we're talking about metabolic health, right? So metabolic health is the issue that we're talking about here. We overeat, and we start breaking down processes in our body, and we get obese. And with obesity comes diabetes and cardiovascular disease, right? The number one killer. But if you do the food right, it's not just for the people that need it. It's for everybody, because you have control of your blood sugar, maintaining weight. Everybody wants that, right? It's not just for the people that are in trouble. In fact, if we all start consuming and eating right now, we won't end up there. So prevention is really, really key here. Stop feeding the funnel. That's really where we have to address this. To a large extent, the people that are already diabetic, they have a long journey. Come back, but we have to stop the funnel. So, why then is food that target metabolic health interesting? Well, in the US example, well-being, biohacking, weight management, longevity is trending, right? We all talk about it. In fact, we had a dinner the other night here, and what did we talk? We spent a lot about talking about longevity. How do we live longer and healthier? Well, one very simple secret to that, control your blood sugar, control your metabolic health. Okay, so I call these, in this example, that the want-driven consumers, consumers that want a healthy lifestyle, they're absolutely a prime target for food as medicine. But the big prize, of course, is this little crowd. 160 million Americans are overweight or obese. 160 million, that's half the population. This year marked the first year where over 50% of all US children are overweight or obese. 50%. Think about that number. Talk about a funnel that's feeding the obesity crisis. Am I picking on the US here? No, not really, because this situation is everywhere in the world. They happen to be a little bigger and a little better and a little ahead of us even in this race. But they're far from the leader. So, huge numbers, right? And you break them down, and I even listed type 1 diabetics. It's a small group, but it's interesting because they have a condition that makes it really important for them to care about their own health, right? And even a relatively small group like that, 1.8 million, I have an example in my new business where there's 4 million if you add the European side, 4 million to total Europe and the US. That's $1 billion opportunity for a product like I have. $1 billion opportunity in that category, 4 million people. Well, hello, there's 160 million here. And this is just the US. There's not one single country on this planet that don't have a metabolic health problem, not one. We we live in Sweden, we think we're healthy, but look at the school children. We're not anywhere near the US numbers yet, but we're racing there. It's a race to the bottom. So, we call those the need-driven consumers. And I just threw in the GLP-1 crowd here because a lot of the GLP-1 consumers actually don't need it for health reasons. They use it for cosmetic purposes. It's an incredible market opportunity, and this is why I say why you impact investors should look at this space, because here there is a very quick return on investment, and there's not only a monetary aspect, of course, it's a well-being aspect. Let people live healthier, let them live better. So I put up the last piece here. Medicare, Medicaid may not make sense to all of you here, but the whole point is, what if we can get insurance or other systems to cover food as medicine for certain groups? I mentioned type 1 diabetics, certain types of type 2 diabetics, and overweight situations, right? High blood pressure. You can easily do the numbers. The food industry has never seen an opportunity like this before, ever. I can go back to my friend Lars Furugard from Novo, right? Why did Novo explode like they did? Because they had a drug that addressed only a small portion of this crowd. And that took them to the point where they're like, the value of Novo is the value of the entire country of Denmark, right? It's a Danish company, in case you didn't know. But so, if we get into that space, and there's a lot of things driving in that direction, we see something called, I don't know how many have heard about value-based healthcare, but it's a really interesting phenomenon. I put some flags up here of countries, nations, where they are experimenting with that. It so happens that the Swedish, English, and Dutch flag is in the middle because they are kind of ahead. And we have a really interesting experience from the Swedish market where it was a company that did an intervention on 1,000 pre-diabetics, and they got it completely funded by commercial investments in the so-called impact bonds that were issued by a bank and an insurance company together, because the social security system doesn't know how to pay for disease prevention. But now somebody tested this, and it was a roaring success. And they got a bonus based on the fact how many healthy individuals they delivered at the end. In that case, they got a check, 3 million euro at the end of the program. Big success. Everybody got repaid. Now, the next, of course, that's an experiment, that's a test. What is value-based healthcare? It essentially, in a simplistic way, means that you only get paid if the patient gets better. Now think about that as a concept for healthcare, right? You only get paid if you get better when you go to see your doctor. Never heard of, but you would only pay the car repairman if your car got better, right? If you screw up, you wouldn't pay him. So why do we look at our own health that way? Anyway. So, and it's not just there. This fine gentleman, we may have many different opinions and varying opinions about him, but there's a few things that he's absolutely doing right. He's launching the Make America Healthy Again philosophy, right? And he stated his 2 pillars. There's a third one that we're all waiting to come up, but it provide evidence-based nutrition. So for the food industry, if we're going to address these problems, we can provide food. I have an example at the end, if I have time to get there. But clinical studies, we need to do what the pharmaceutical industry do. what they do in terms of clinical evidence and proving that our products work. That's the only way to get paid ultimately by insurance. Another fun fact, and I know you're a lot of geeks here and a lot of biohackers, but empower people to take control of their own health. It's an interesting concept. It was going to feed more of these fun devices, right? And there's a lot happening. The glucose monitor, continuous glucose monitor. I'm personally following 5 other companies that are developing technologies in that space. Within 2 to 3 years, it's going to be super accessible for the masses to control your own blood sugar. It's a great, great, great driver for owning your own health and understanding your own health. So I told it is a big impact. What is happening in the industry? I'm not going to go into too much detail, but just pointing out that there we see this year, we've seen some fantastic transactions in this space with high valuations where companies, in this particular case, Pepsi and Danone, have bought. And they've started now to acquire relatively small technology companies with low, small, early-stage revenues, ARRs. I mean, in the case of the Ackermansia company, 8 million, and they pay extremely high premiums. So impact investors, look, here's a proof point. Things are happening in this space. So rounding up, it's an unprecedented opportunity. I've been working here in this space with, this is my new company after doing Oatly. My brother and I left Oatly at the end of 2021. And we are attacking this market head-on with food that is clinically proven that, in this case, helps regulate your blood sugar. You drink a beverage with your meal. You get 25% glucose reduction. It stimulates the natural GLP-1 hormone. We don't give you an artificial hormone. We stimulate the natural ones. This is all deep science, 10-year foundational research that led to this. So, to me, establishing a new category, which is food as medicine, targeting metabolic health, is the biggest opportunity I ever seen ever in any industry, certainly in food. But I'm alone. That's not a good thing. I need more people to come in here. We launched this in the US in 2022, and we did it online because the retailers don't know where to put the products, right? There's not enough understanding in the category management. So I want all you entrepreneurs that are in the food space, come talk. We need to build this together. And the impact investors, you'd be foolish not to look at this space. Voila. Thank you.
Very fast now, an entrepreneur has a task that most of you know, see a problem or a pain. You build a private empire around it. Often it will crush establishment. And you are one of them, Björn. Thank you for changing the food system for us all, but he needs help. This company that you're now building, maybe it's another company too, is coming from Lund. It's an Aventure research laboratory. Oatly, a good idea, and it will be coming many companies in this space. What can we do for you? What are your bottleneck as entrepreneur to get through, apart from being alone?
Well, as any entrepreneur, alone or not, it's funding, of course. We're fundraising, so that's an opportunity there for the right people. But I think really raising the awareness and the importance of really looking at what we eat. I can actually give you a piece of simple advice that will work for everybody in here, how to today start improve your metabolic health. Simple, dirt simple. Eat protein before carbs, period.
Thank you so much.
You'll be
questions in the audience. We have, I think, actually, have we 1 more minute? So I gave you homework. I'm a bad teacher. I didn't get to your time, but you have done your homework, and you too. Thank you. Fast question and fast answer.
All right, fast question. I'd be interested to hear how you think government regulation can play in this space, because in the UK there's lots of talks about sugar tax and sort of encouraging people to eat healthier to fight obesity that way, and that's something that I felt you didn't mention. So be interested to hear what you think about that.
Yeah, it's a great question. So what's happening there? I mean, I gave you an example of the impact bonds that funded this project in Sweden. It was so successful, you were thinking everybody going to run that way. You got completely caught up in politics. Nobody wants to roll it out because the regional authorities realize that they can cut their budgets. They don't want that because they want high budgets, high status, there's an inertia built in. You see that in the US, you see that in the UK, and the UK has certainly come a long way on impact, on value-based healthcare, right? But it's actually not working in the favor of the existing system because they're built on big budgets. That's status, that's prestige. So why would I want to do something that cut my budget? Save money. It's the difference between who pays and who benefits from these systems. That's a big challenge. So, great question. That's another area where, organizations like Norrsken and all of us together can have a true impact.
And now I think time is out. And but Björn is here, and he's happy to take questions. I know him, so he will be here having. So if you have prepared a question and taken the homework that I gave to you, just shoot it to him. And thank you, Norrsken, and thank you to you all, and thank you to Björn.